Hey, this is Julian, and welcome back to Drum and Stage. Today, we've got Arthur Mambuca. Now, normally I go seeking artists to talk to and get the story on. He actually got in touch with me wanting to tell his story about playing Sonor in the trenches, and I want to welcome Arthur.
Greetings.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you.
It's
So,
great to be here.
when you say playing Sonor in the trenches, tell us what you're talking about.
It's a whole different world when, uh, most featured artists are in touring bands with big road crews and, backing and so on and so forth. But then for me, I'm the guy out there, uh, limited budget. I mean, we play theaters, 2,000 seat places and we
Hmm.
do okay, but we don't have I set my stuff up basically. I mean, I have a helper, but
Hmm.
um, and it's I guess the trenches to me are we're the guys out there, 4 or 5 nights a week, schlepping in the van and the trailer and just doing it for the love of it and the money.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think that basically puts it in perspective. I'm in a touring. We're a tribute band for Foreigner and Journey. We have two American Idol singers that work with us, so there's a little bit of hype and I guess celebrity there. I'm the guy that uses this stuff, sets it up, takes it down, breaks it, fixes it. Um, Maintains it, everything.
You're not one of the guys that's got a 40-hour a week day job and this is just something you do on the side. This is your bread and butter. Have I got that right?
This has been my entire life since I was 9 years old.
Are you an endorsed artist with Sonor?
I am not an endorsed artist at this time, um, but I'm working on it. And I've been to the factory and met Nico and hung out and had just very good rapport. So I'm putting myself in a position. I'm launching LTD. Let's Talk Drums podcast is going to be coming up, where we talk all about drums and I'm not quite sure yet. Who knows? There may be some cooking involved. I was told that my drumming is all there and I have everything else is in place. It's just a matter of the web presence that's keeping me from being on the website, so to speak. I guess I go the path of least resistance. So I don't know if you know Sonor Sam.
Sam I Am
So
Studios.
yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So some custom stuff I went through him because he has an excellent relationship with KHS. So he helped me out immensely. He actually this whole kit right here, which is a vintage kit,
Hmm.
8, 10, 12. I have a 13 over there somewhere. Um, 14, 16, 18. He facilitated the whole kit to me. And KHS basically it came right from them and dropped shipped it to me in very quick time. Just fantastic.
Is that silver glitter?
It's silver glitter.
I've got one myself. I got a three-piece.
Are they or are they not the best sounding and feeling drums? I mean, when I when I hit them, it's like it's just like butter. It's the best way to explain it.
Yep.
Love them. The kick drum, nothing sounds like it. It's just they're awesome drums.
I agree. I like mine tremendously. And the last couple of interviews I've done with Tal Bergman, he plays them in his studio, and Adam Nussbaum, he doesn't own a set, but he's played several, and he would like to have one. He just doesn't have anywhere to put it.
I have that problem too. I had to actually put a room on my house to hold all the SQ2 stuff I have, but that's another story.
So going back to your touring rig, what all do you have in the SQ2 stuff?
Okay, so um, I have three kick drums. They're all medium birch and 22, a 20, and an 18, all 16 inches deep. and they're white sparkle, chrome hardware, black badges, and I have the white striped veneer interiors, and that's on all the drums. And then I have a 8x7, 8x10, 10x8, 12x9, 13x11, 14 by 4, no, yeah, 14 by 14, 15 by 14, 18 by 16, and a 16 by 14 mounted tom,
Hmm.
you know, Neil Peart-esque. Then I also have a 20-inch gong drum, um, four snare drums, 14, 13, 12, and a 10. It's funny because I went, like Todd, there's nothing that sounds like the heavy beach toms. So all the rack toms are heavy beach. Floor toms are all medium birch. Sound men like me for that. And then I have a couple of concert toms that Sonor made for me. They're two eights. One's an 8x7 and one's an 8x10. Those are both heavy beach also. Um, and that pretty much covers those.
So what drew you to Sonor in the first place? And when was that?
Okay, that was in 19. I'm going to give my age away. That was in 1978. I bought my first phonic series drum kit. And even back then, I had a flair for the excess. I had six rack toms, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then I had two floor toms, 16 and 18,
Mhm.
and a 22-inch kick. And pewter, it was the pewter finish. It was a wrap. And I actually went to, back then it was Honer.
Right.
And I went to the distributor, which at the time was it was in Walpole, Massachusetts. So I went there and picked them all up. Um, so I guess I have a habit of going to the factories and the distributors. I just like to be around the massive quantity of Sonor drums, I guess.
So what other Sonor gear have you had through the ages?
Well, to be honest, I had that phonic kit, boy, 20 years.
Mhm.
And then I had a bunch of HLD, ferromanganese snare drums, a piccolo, right up to an 8-inch deep. I had all the hardware at the time, the cymbal stands, the hi-hat stands, everything, until I had to set it up and take it down so many times. And then lo and behold, Gibraltar came out with the rack.
Mhm.
And from then on, that was it. I just basically all my stuff. I guess again, going back to being in the trenches, but you can go to any store, um, and they got the stuff.
Mhm.
So if you break a cymbal arm, you go there's a cymbal arm. And at the time, Sonor was not, as you know, even now, it's not present enough in a lot of the stores. So I hope that gets fixed. But yeah, I mean, we were in Maryland. Forget, I forget. But so it's like all the stuff's in the trailer. Something got broken, one of my stands. So
Mhm.
we're calling, and and someone said, "Oh, there's a great drum shop down the road." And oh, really? And it was ended up being Badge's Drum Shop. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I saw their logo online the other day. I didn't go to the site or anything, but other than that, no.
It's one of those places. It's like a vintage drum store. They have like all, if you want a 1960s Ludwig drum, go there and get it.
Hmm.
But they were great. They said, "Oh, come on over." They let me go downstairs in their basement and look through like boxes of parts, and I ended up finding it. So we have a good community. We have a good community with with us drum people, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm trying to put it into words. It's like, you know the old adage, it's like when you know, you know.
Hmm.
And when it comes to Sonor, it's there's nothing like them. So as a community, we're all, whether it's I don't know, it's a gene or a chromosome in there. It's like you can't use anything else. I can't, I'll sit behind like someone I know had it was a Pearl Masterworks,
Hmm.
and it was a beautiful drum kit, you know, um, and everything. But I sat behind it, and it was like, I don't get it. I don't understand how um, people don't see the difference. And Todd was a perfect example of that, obviously. Um, but the other thing for me about being in the trenches, so to speak, is we use a lot of backline. So we'll do a lot of fly-ins and or however we facilitate getting there. But I end up being stuck with a bunch of DW gear
Hmm.
because every single backline company has DW collector series. God love them, but I don't get it. I just don't. When I sit, even the band will say, "Wow, it's funny because you talk about Sonor all the time and how they're this and how they're that, but and you don't." And everyone's just like, "Yeah, here he goes." But when they hear me play with another brand, it's like, uh, "Where's the Sonors?"
Hmm.
I mean, if that's kind of a testament, and a lot of times too sound men, because we sometimes we carry our own guy, sometimes we don't. So I deal with a lot of house guys. And wow, I didn't have to do anything to your drums. Normally I have to gate and compress and all that. He goes, don't have to touch your stuff, and it just sounds
So
fantastic.
what?
I 100% tune by ear, and I own a tune bot. I own a drum dial. I own it all,
Hmm.
and but I've been tuning my own drums. Let's see, since I was 9 years old,
Hmm.
and I got my first drum kit, and it was it was a Blue Sparkle. Gambles was the company. I mean, I don't know where they it must. I'm sure it was from Japan. But my parents bought it for me on my ninth birthday, and before then I was destroying my mother's pots and pans and all that kind of stuff. So they go, we got to get this guy a drum kit. He's wrecking the house. So, so, so I never knew, I wanted my drums to sound like the records that I was listening to. And at the time it was, yes, Jethro Tull, um, King Crimson, Steely Dan, all that stuff. Um, so I just kind of, my ears just kind of, you know, tuned into what the drum sounds they were getting. And that's, basically how I've been ever since.
Hmm.
So, when I put a drum head on, I turn it as I know how many, it's like instinct of how many turns I need,
Right.
and then just a couple little tweaks and it's there.
Hmm. So back in the 70s, when you decided to go with Sonor, what band or what drummer led you, what did you hear that made you realize, hey, that's what I want to sound like? Or what was it that tipped you off that Sonor was going to be your brand?
I saw Steve Smith with Jean-Luc Ponty
Hmm.
at I believe it was the Music Hall in Boston. And his drum kit was just monstrous. And that was the I'm sure you've heard the Steve Smith story where he had this little drum kit, and Jean-Luc said, "No, no, you need to go out and get, I want a double bass, I want a big drum kit." So he went to, at the time, it was Jack's Drum Shop in Boston, God rest its soul. And he bought the biggest drum kit they had, which happened to be a Sonor natural finish. And I just love that sound and the look and everything. So that was that. I came up with the 3 grand, and back in the day, trust me, that was really tough. I don't I've sold my soul probably 50 times, but I think that was the first time.
Hmm.
Uh and went out and got it and then just never looked back.
So how did you wind up going to the factory?
It's been a lifelong dream of mine. I actually I was scheduled to go, um and then COVID hit.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I think it was 2020. So obviously that couldn't happen. And then I just had to go. Uh, I had to see where all my stuff was coming from. And lo and behold, jumped on the plane, and what an arduous journey it was because I had to fly to Germany, and then we had shows. So me being the guy that I've never canceled a show in my life, um, flew back after meeting Nico, and then flew back to Germany. And we spent some time in Mittenwald and drank a lot of beer and had some pretzels. And I had this big knuckle thing. I don't know. It was this big hunk of meat with a bone sticking out of it. But anyway, um, so then flew back again to go to hit the tour again. So, but I'll tell you right now, every one that I met, every craftsman, every person in the factory, they were smiling. They were talking about, how they'd been there for 20 years and just the pride, like the the gentleman making the shells. He came over and he showed it to me. It was all, just the pride and the you know sense of we want to make the best products we can. And there was no one there going, oh boy, I can't wait to get out of here. Even
Hmm.
well, interesting gentleman was he tunes the keys for the glockenspiels and the xylophones, and he's over there, and he was showing us how he did it, and he'd hit it and go, then just like you do this little one little thing, and then bing, it was perfect, and he was a riot. He was really just a everyone there. The guy who does the snare beds. I probably did you a snare bed. I'm like, well, I'm sure you did. And guess what? I got some more work for you to do. Um, so it was just an excellent experience. And Nico, he's just he's the perfect guy for the job he has. He's just you know, he loves the brand. He just, loves what he's doing, and just a great guy. I actually, one thing I got to do was play I got to play they had a kit back in the 80s called the Jet Setter,
I'm familiar.
where they flew you in and you got to pick up the drums and everything. So there was only like 5 of them left, and I got to play on it, and it was kind of great. It was wow, because Steve Smith had been there, like, I don't know, a week before or something, and they had video of him playing it. And I did not know it at the time, but I saw some of Todd's drums being made. They're like, oh, I'm like, oh, those look nice. Yeah, they're for somebody. And it's like, okay. So, but yeah, it was an experience of my life.
At what point was it you put two and two together and realized that you had seen Todd's drums?
Well, when he said this is my new drum kit, and I'm like, I saw that gong drum. That looks
Mhm.
familiar. With the gold hardware and all. It was kind of wild seeing it. It's like, okay.
There's been several factory tour videos over the years, and I think all of us Sonor guys that have been Sonor guys more than 10 or 15 minutes have seen those. How different was it taking all that in person versus watching the videos? And was the attention to detail, were you surprised at the level of attention to detail, even though you had already seen the videos?
Um, it's like when you see a picture or a video of the Grand Canyon,
Mm-hmm.
and you go, "Ooh, wow, that's impressive." But when you stand on the edge of the Grand Canyon
Yeah.
and you're actually there, you're in awe.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's the same thing. You know, you can watch the videos, but when you're actually there and you touch everything and you see everybody working and how knowledgeable they are and just the whole experience, the videos can't prepare you for that.
Was there anywhere along the way that you figured maybe there was a better option for you besides Sonor, or did you ever have a situation where you're like, I went down the wrong road with this brand, or has it just been nothing but Sonor on the mind the whole time?
I have never strayed. Uh, Again, nothing sounds like it. So, okay. So at one time, I worked for Guitar Center. I actually opened a store, a drum department in Danvers, Massachusetts. Um, and we had everything, uh, every brand you could think of. So, and my job every day was to sell them. So I'd sit behind the Gretsch, or I'd sit behind a Tama, I'd sit behind a Pearl or a DW, and we didn't have Sonor. Um, and I got to play all of them. And not one time did I say, maybe this is an option for me.
Mhm.
Never. No, nope, nothing. Um, and I'll say that, everyone has their personal taste. And I know that a lot of endorsements, people get paid to to use something. Um, but you couldn't pay me not to play my drum kit. It's my cockpit. It's my sanctuary. That's how I look at it.
Mhm.
I own way more Sonar gear than people think I have a sickness, which I kind of do.
Mhm.
But I mean that for me is what I would look for is the support. Is the again back in the trenches. But for someone like me who consistently plays in front of a couple of thousand,
Mhm.
and the meet and greets and stuff we do and online questions I get, from my messenger about everyone's asking me about the drums. Love your drums, what do you play? Blah, blah, blah. Uh, so so I kind of feel like we're the guys who are in the streets.
Mhm.
We're the knocking on doors guys. Um, and So, I mean, that I guess that puts it in perspective of how where I think I fit in to the Sonor family and guys like me. It's like going to a great restaurant.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you have the best meal in the world, you want to tell people about it because you want to, not because the restaurant's going to give you free food, but because you want people to experience the
Right.
joy and the excitement that you have for something that's awesome.
Exactly.
So that's how I look at supporting Sonar drums on my end. I want people to have the same experience that I have, and to appreciate. Nothing sounds like a Sonar, and
Mhm.
that's really what it comes down to. Again, being in the trenches, I think, has an advantage because we're out there and we get a chance to talk to the masses, the guys who are going into the drum stores and wow, I heard this drum kit, and I really want it and blah blah blah. So we're the street team. I'm the guy who um mistakenly like got in an original band, and was in it for 5 years, and we did a record. And one time we were at the David Geffen's desk, ready to put a record out. This was in the '80s, and he goes, "Okay, so we're going to give you a producer. We're going to give you a director. We're going to do this. We're going to do that, and we'll go over the material and tweak it." And the lead singer stands up and he says, "No one's touching my songs." Took the pens back. Get out. So that was an experience. And then in the '90s, I did the same thing. I was with a band for 7 years. We were in the office of Polydor Records in Massachusetts, and we walk in the door. They had they were approving the new cover for the U2 album, Zooropa. I mean, it was just a great experience. Go in. Well, here's what we need. Here's what we need you to do. We want you to do this, this, and this. Keyboard player who ran the band got scared. I don't want to do it. So twice I had the rug ripped out from under me. Instead of going out to California like everybody else did and go play at the Whiskey with 100 bands and get a gig, and in hindsight, probably wouldn't have been a bad idea. But I was the guy who dedicated myself to a music I believed in, and it didn't work out exactly how I would have wanted it to.
Mhm.
So, then I went in the route of, like, I played with Bowser's 50s and 60s review, did the Atlantic City and the cruise ship thing, and then in a bunch of like high level tribute bands. I played with Herb Reed, played with a bunch of people like that. Went to Berkeley, which was later in life. I actually, long story short, I had a bone marrow transplant, and I had to make a bucket list because who knew?
Mhm.
Um, so one of them was to go to Berkeley. So when I got through it, uh, enrolled in, I got a scholarship, full scholarship to Berkeley, and it was great. But back in the day, when I used to go there and record with people and do different stuff back in the '80s and '70s, there was a band in every room.
Mhm.
Every room had a band. This time, it was a bunch of kids all lined up at their computers, getting virtual instruments and making songs. Whole different world.
Mhm.
But one really cool thing is I did get to do some workshops with Victor Wooten
Mhm.
and Steve Bailey. Um, so that was great. I got to play with them, and it was quite an experience. That brought me to FJ, Foreigner's Journey, and the whole American Idol thing, and it's been very, very good, very successful. We work as much as we want. We play, the same venues that Gavin plays in. I mean, we'll be there the next week. Stuff like that. So it's a very good. It's the top of the mountain for playing other people's music.
Mhm.
I will be starting a podcast. It's LTD, Let's Talk Drums, and basically it's just gonna further perpetuate the Sonor brand, and um, just have it's just going to be a fun question answer, uh, you know, um, little like videos of what life is like on the road, so on and so forth. So it's just going to be a fun little thing.
So besides Sonor, Arthur, is there anybody else that you want to mention or any gear you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk about the one thing, no matter where I am or where I play, that I cannot do without, and that's my Porter and Davies tactical drum throne. I have a TT6, um, and they custom did it for me with white stitching and so forth. They are fantastic. And once you sit on one and use it, you're hooked. I can't play without it. So they very kindly endorse me, and it's fabulous stuff. And a quick shout out to Trick Drums, who I'm a pedal endorser of theirs. I love their pedals. I mean, I never had an issue ever, and they're they're awesome, and they're very supportive. And that's it.
Well, as far as the trick goes, I did notice on a video I watched, you had the cymbal toppers that they make.
Yeah, I love them. They're convenient, and once again, I mean, I'm not a gentle guy when it comes to my drums. I mean, I can be, but sometimes you just gotta. When I let loose, that those things have held in every situation. They're awesome. I've had them now for a few years, and they're 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 the best.